Hello, it's me, Jeanette. How are you? Hope you've been well. In today's video, I'm creating a bear themed mini pocket letter. So this is going to be a 3 pocket letter instead of the traditional 9 pockets, which is a full a trading card insert. So I'm going to take my guillotine and trim this very carefully because if I accidentally cut in the wrong place, it's not going to ruin the bottom like the bottom 3 rows. It's going to ruin, like you might end up ruining the rest of the insert, which you could also trim to have like 3 mini 3 pocket letters. I hope that makes sense. So just be very careful when you're trimming down your insert to create a mini pocket letter. And I'm just going to be grabbing some different colors from this paper pad, which is really cute. It felt very like almost fall themed, but also like late summer. So it's just a fun color palette. I really like the oranges and the blues and the browns. It's just, yeah, rocking my retinas. So I'm going to be creating a bear themed, and you're going to laugh because it ends up not looking very bear themed. And the reason for that is I didn't have a lot of bear stuff. I had a bear die, and then I had a bear, I think I have a polar bear stamp, but I didn't want to go with a polar bear. I just wanted to go with like a generic kind of bear thing. And so I only have a bear stamp and a bear die. And it was just it ended up being quite a challenge to make this very, very themed, but it was a lot of fun. So I'm trimming down all of my cardstock to the magic ATC size number, which I believe is the exact same size as a playing card. So deck of cards is the same size, 2.5 inches by 3.5 inches. So I'm just trimming down all the papers to that size. And then I'm kind of deciding what colors, what patterns I want and where. So I've decided on these colors. I think I'm going to switch this up in just a little bit, but I'm also keeping in mind that the back of the letter, the back of the layout, I also want to have a little bit of color because the back side, this is just a one-sided print kind of paper. So I didn't want the back to look just plain. So I'm not going to decorate the back. I'm just going to add just an extra ATC card in the back so that it looks a little bit more put together. And then I'm grabbing the scraps. This is something that I love to do, is to just grab the scraps from what I've just trimmed and add that to my layout. It makes it look a lot more cohesive. That's the best word for it. So I'm going to grab the bear out of this die set. This is, I believe, a Lori Whitlock die set, and this is the cutest thing. I don't know if they still have this die set, but I'm going to try to find it for you because what it ends up being, it's like for a baby shower card or a baby card, new baby card, and it makes a little drawer, like a standing drawer set. The drawers don't open, but it just has that appearance of drawers, and then you put the little like bear or the little rattle in the drawers, like sticking out, almost like 3D style, sort of. It's a super cute card, and I've made it before for a friend and loved it, so I'm using that bear. And it ends up being, I don't know, it felt a little bit too cutesy for what I was going for. I don't know if you feel like sometimes things are too cutesy and kind of not the vibe that you want, but it ends up being okay in the end, I think. I would love to know if you have bear stuff. Like, do you have a bear die or a bear stamp or bear print paper or like bear, I don't know, bear stickers? Let me know. I would love to know the amount of bear things that you have, because sometimes you're just like, wait, I want to make this kind of, journaling layout or snail mail, but you're like, wait, I don't think I have enough of that like theme or motif to go with to make a full layout. So I was struggling a little bit with this one, and then in the end it didn't look, like I said, it doesn't look very berry themed, but it's not terrible. All right, so next I'm going to be die cutting this pleated die set, which I believe is from Eileen Hall, and it creates a strip with the creases with the scores, so that the score lines, so that you can easily make little pleats, and you're gonna see how it turns out. I love it. I just use my scraps from the other from the cardstock that I trimmed, and then you just score it back and forth. You just fold the little pleats, and it creates a really nice little element. This would be so, like, just a great die to have for scraps, because think of all those like long rectangular pieces of scraps that you have in your stash that you don't quite know what to do with. This would be great for that. And so it almost looks like a medallion, but it's not, like a medallion die. But yeah, I really love this little die set, and it's just going to add a little bit of ruffling to my layout. Just kind of like, not ruffling, but a little pleated action. And it would be super cute if I had a sewing machine. I think it would have looked really nice if I would have sewed this onto the card. So something to think about. Now, if you want to do this yourself, the little pleats, you can definitely do that and create your own little pleated strips. Of course, you're going to need a scoreboard for that. Or if you're like really good at folding straight lines, you can probably do that pretty easily. I'm going to be adding the score line dimensions for this in the video description, so that if you don't have this die, or if you want to copy this kind of pleated action, then you can do that with the measurements in the video description. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear gunshots in the background. Don't worry, hopefully you can't. I can hear them pretty clearly. So I'm currently sat in my car doing this voiceover because inside my in-laws' house, it's very echoey and you can hear everything when people are talking. And so I'm like, oh, I'm just going to do the voiceover in the car, which I did in my last video. But this time, yeah, our neighbors, we live in the forest, like in the mountains. And so there's a lot of gun owners, and they just, I think they shoot in their backyards. I don't know. I hear gunshots a lot. So hopefully you didn't hear those gunshots. If you did, it's fine. I'm all right. Safe in my car. But anyway, anywho, back to the layout. So I've added those scraps, and I've also found some really cute acetate sentiments from, I want to say it's Heidi Swapp. I'm pretty sure it's Heidi Swapp. So I'll try to find those for you as well. They're old. I want to say they're like 5 years old. I found them in my storage stash. And yeah, I just like the look of it. And so I'm going to be adding those with the little pleated action little strip there. And then I, of course, if I can incorporate foliage or leaves or something leafy looking, I will definitely add that to my layout. I love foliage. So I'm just adding a little sprig of green on each of these. And I'm trying to keep this layout. You can see it's very balanced. So I have the rectangle kind of offset on the left, and then I'm going to make sure I have the rectangle offset on the right, and then I'm going to have the pleated little strip on the bottom, and then the little foliage on underneath all of that. So the foliage is going to be the first layer, and everything's going to be layered on top of that. So I tend to, it's easier for my brain to craft this way when I'm working with layouts, is to kind of have everything a little bit balanced. So if I put something on one side, I'm going to put a little, like something very similar on the other side. Sometimes it's identical, sometimes it's not. So like with the foliage, it's not the same leaf die set, but it's very similar. It's in the same color. So that kind of helps the whole thing look a little bit balanced, a little bit unified, a little bit more cohesive. So I'm pretty much happy with how everything looks. And so now I'm just going to glue it all down. And I'm going to use a combination of my Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher, which I absolutely love. It's a mini Staples stapler. And I'm also going to be using my glue stick, which is not the best, but it'll do. It'll hold it together. And the pleats are so easy to glue down. So you glue them down. You put a little bit of glue along the strip, like all flat, and then you pleat it, and then you put one more bit of glue once it's pleated, so that the whole shape kind of just stays together. Just trimming off the excess here, and there I am gluing that one little bit. Let me talk about what I'm doing here. So because I don't have foam tape, I wanted to create that little center bear. I wanted him to pop up just a little bit, and since I didn't have foam tape, what I'm doing instead is just gluing 3 little die cut bears together to give it some dimension. And you saw that I tried to draw on one to see what it looked like, to like darken its eyes and its nose and its little smile, but it just felt a little too cutesy for the vibe that I was going for. So that's why I just kind of stuck that bear in the middle there of my little layering that I was doing to give it some dimension. And I really like how it turned out because it gives it that pop that I was looking for, and it almost feels like an embellishment instead of just paper. So it almost felt like a chipboard sticker, and it gave me a nice little shadow, and then I was able to add the pretty sentiment on top. I would love, love, love to have had a sewing machine to just kind of glue that pretty, sew that pretty across the center. I think it would look really nice to have that texture of the thread. I'm gonna ask my mother-in-law if she has a sewing machine. But I don't know what she's gonna say because I'm not too familiar with, well, I've had a sewing machine before. So would sewing paper be something that ruins your sewing machine? Because I definitely don't want to ruin her sewing machine if she lets me borrow it. So I don't know what to tell her. Like, can I borrow your sewing machine for scrapbooking? But then I don't know if it's going to ruin it. So if there are any sewers out there, let me know if it potentially ruins it. So like if you do sewing with paper crafts, is there a chance, like, do you use a cheap sewing machine because it might ruin the needle or it might break it? Let me know, because I'm really curious, because if she has a sewing machine, that's going to be a game changer, because I'll be able to sew some of this stuff, and I think it would just sewing always adds like a nice little texture, and I'll be able to make a bunch of journaling like inserts, which would be a dream. I would just spend my days making journaling inserts. That'd be so much fun. So I wanted to add just one more thing to this layout. Either it was going to be like self-adhesive pearls or some kind of gems, but I found these really cute little paper flowers, and so I'm going to glue one on each side so it kind of like balances out. And then I'm going to put the finished cards in the pockets, and I'm going to add some goodies, quote unquote goodies. And my goodies are going to be all the extra little bear die cuts so that the recipient of this can use them in their layouts. I'm also going to include some page flags, some little mini sticky note samples, and also some washi tape. And I'm going to show how I make washi tape samples. It's really easy. Now, let's talk about goodies and snail mail. So a lot of people with pocket letters, they used, sometimes they send goodies and sometimes they don't. So the way to figure out whether or not you're going to get goodies in your letter when you do a swap is to ask your partner. So when you're exchanging mailing addresses, when you're talking about the themes or any colors that you're going to use, or, you know, if you have a set theme of some sort that you're going for, like a Christmas layout or a Halloween one, just ask if they're going to send goodies. And by goodies, I mean stickers or like little paper clips or washi samples, or you can send a little tea bag, or you can send just anything that fits in the pocket, really. So always be communicative, always share, because a lot of times people will end up sending something, and then when they get their swap, they are disappointed because there are no goodies inside, and that was expected. Now, sometimes people prefer sometimes not to send goodies because it does add a lot to the postage costs. So just always be upfront with your partner and share if you're going to be sending goodies or not. Or if you don't care. If you don't care if you get any goodies in return and you want to send goodies to your swap partner, then that's great too. You can just include them in there. Now for my washi tape sample, I just end up using cardstock, honestly, because even if that first, like when you're wrapping the washi tape around your cardstock, that first layer might rip the card, but there's plenty on top. So as you're rolling it around, as you're rolling your washi tape around your cardstock, it's going to stick on itself, and that will protect the washi tape. You might tear the card at the very bottom. That first layer might tear, but the rest of it will be protected. I hope that makes sense. So when you give this to your partner, like let's say you receive a washi tape and you're using it, you'll be fine. It's going to be fine if it's wrapped around cardstock, because you'll be able to use it because it's being protected. The washi tape is being protected because it's getting wrapped upon itself, on itself. That very last layer, let's say you're unraveling all your washi tape because you're using it in your journaling layouts, that very last layer might tear that first layer, that first wraparound, and that might tear the cardstock. But that's okay, because hopefully your partner was very generous with their washi tape sample and wrapped this baby around a lot of times, which I'm trying to do here because yeah, it's always fun to get quite a bit of washi tape, especially when it's really fun patterns. I hope that all made sense. If you have any questions, please let me know. But people sometimes wrap the washi tape around a playing card, because playing cards kind of have that plasticky paper, which provides that kind of protection so that that first layer of washi tape is not going to tear and it'll easily come off. Or some people use those embroidery floss thingies. They're like little rectangle, mini like square looking things that you can wrap embroidery floss around, but you can also wrap washi tape around those as well. Or if you have a piece of acetate, like sturdy acetate, you can wrap some washi around that. But if you don't have that, it's okay. You can definitely use cardstock. Just remember that the first layer might tear. And that's enough on talking about washi tape samples. Now to sticky notes. I like to give sticky note samples and page flag samples because I use those quite a bit in journaling and also in my planners. I currently don't have a planner now that I think about it. I kind of miss it. So yeah, I just will tear off a few sticky notes from any like cute ones that I have to share with my swap person. The person that I'm sending this to. Sorry. Now I'm going to be talking about the letter, because everybody's like, hey, how do I put this letter in here? So what I do, mine always ends up being a note because I do like letter writing, but I tend to just send little notes. So what you do is you just cut a piece of paper. You can actually use a full size paper if you want, and then you write out your letter or your note. It's always nice to include a little note because that's part of the fun, is to get a little letter or a note. So I'm just going to write it on this piece of graph paper. I didn't even what do you say? I didn't even try to like measure this piece of paper because it doesn't really matter what size, because you're going to fold it up. Even if you have to fold it up like 100 times so that it fits in the pocket, that's fine. And once you've written your note, your little handwritten sentiment, then you just fold it up, like I said, as many times as you need to. I didn't have to fold mine up very much, maybe 3 times. And then you just slip it into the back of the layout, or you can put it between, I'm going to put it between the 2 cards, I think, or maybe I don't. I think I end up putting it between the 2 cards to kind of hide it, and then it's fun to like dig through your pocket letter. You're like, hey, where's my letter? And you're digging through it. I do highly recommend that you include a letter, because that's kind of a letter or note, because that's kind of the whole point of snail mail and trying to form like a pen palship. If you're not going to include a letter, which a lot of people don't include one, and then their partner ends up complaining. If you don't want to include a letter, please make sure to tell your pal when you're swapping addresses, like, hey, let's do a pocket letter, but I don't feel like writing a letter. That's fine. But just always make sure to communicate with your swap partner. Now then, once I'm all done, I have my letter inside, my goodies, it's all good to go. I'm just going to slide it into this 10 size envelope. And if you had a full 9 pocket layout, 9-page layout, that'd be crazy. If you had a full 9 pocket layout, then all you would do is just fold it in thirds. So fold the whole insert in thirds and then put it into the 10 size envelope. And that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful week. Bye!